PPO plans, there's two types of PPO plans. One type, which is the vast majority of plans, are called open panel plans. Open panel plans. What that means is that patients can go wherever they want, and their PPO plan, the insurance, will pay benefits to out-of-network providers, or they'll pay directly to the patient. They will pay benefits, and they're called open panel plans. Vast majority of dental PPO plans are open panel plans. However, there's a very small minority of the other type of plan, which are called closed panel plan. Closed panel means that the only way the patient can get any benefits from the policy is to go to an in-network provider. If they go outside of network, the plan will not pay any benefits either to the provider or to the patient. Those are very unusual, very unusual. However, they do exist out there, and that's why we wanted to cover this in this podcast episode. Because, when we're talking about, the heads up conversation, Aaron, you've heard me talk about the heads up conversation.
Yes.
When we have the heads up conversation, we like to say, even once we're no longer contracted with your insurance, you can still come here. Whatever benefits you can use here. We'll file your claims for you like we always have, and we'll be on your side to help you get every dollar of benefit you have. Now, most of what I said was true if you're in a closed panel plan, with one exception. Whatever benefits you have, you can use here. So I want to give you a heads up. There are these stray plans. Recently, I discovered one. It was a very unusual Delta plan for state of Illinois employees. It was a particular Delta. Not all Delta plans are the same. That's a myth. The plans can be wildly different within the provider. And so this was a very unusual state of Illinois employee Delta plan that does not pay out-of-network benefits. I found it in another situation in Colorado, another particular type of Delta plan. This was called Delta Clear, and again, does not pay any out-of-network benefits. Now, the best way for me to explain the out-of-network situation, the open panel versus closed panel, is Medicaid, Medicare, Medicaid. Medicare is a closed panel plan. If you are not a Medicare provider, Medicare will not pay you any benefits, nor will they pay the patient any benefit. The only way the patient can get benefits is to go to a Medicare provider. Now, could that patient still choose your office for your care, Naren?
Absolutely.
But what would be the consequences of that?
You mean
if the patient?
Yeah. So if it's a Medicaid patient, of course, they're going to pay out of pocket.
So they have to pay everything themselves.
Everything. Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the same situation with this very unusual state of Illinois employee plan and this Delta Clear plan in Colorado. Same situation. They can still come there.
Right.
But what does that mean?
They have to pay the entire amount, whatever the cost of dentistry is, out of their own pocket.
Yeah. Yes. And now what I advise my clients as we're going through that and we're looking at this in detail, we rarely see that. The vast majority of time, every plan they're in is an open panel plan where patients can come there. But when it does come up, I tell my client, let's take a worst case scenario and assume you're going to lose all of those patients. Now, I don't like that message, but I think in terms of our planning and our thinking and our strategy to shift marketing and what might happen in the practice, let's plan it as you're likely to lose those patients. Because it used to be free for the hygiene appointment, and now they have to pay. Yeah. However, what we could do, there's a couple of things we could do with those patients. Because this might come up in any of our listeners, it may come up. It'd be unusual, be very, very unusual. But if it did come up, one of the things we could do is we can encourage the patient to shift to your in-office membership plan. So Naren, if you were the patient, you might say, Naren, one thing you might want to consider is no longer, using your insurance from the state of Illinois. And in fact, purchase our in-office membership plan. And I think you might find that that might be a whole lot better for you. And then I'd explain what the in-office membership plan is. Now, interestingly enough, as I was going through this with our client in Colorado that had that clear, one of the things we learned is that every single patient on this clear plan purchased their own dental insurance. In other words, it was not provided by the employer. And by the way, the annual fee, the premium fee, these were individuals that were buying their own insurance. In other words, it wasn't provided by their employer.
Right.
Now, we discovered in this situation that their annual fee for a premium on that insurance was $628. Fairly significant.
Yes.
And I said,
and they're paying it out of pocket, right? So they're already spending the money like on their own. Yeah.
Yeah. And now the office is providing an office membership plan that's going to be significantly less expensive with a much better benefits.
Yeah.
A much better, no exclusions, no annual limit, no gamesmanship, no delays in payment. I mean, it's much better. Right. And when I shared that with this office, a client of ours in Colorado, it's a large practice. The doctors, we were on a Zoom meeting, and the doctors unanimously said, Gary, I think we can get all of these Delta Clear patients to convert to our membership plan.
Right.
So I'm sharing that with you because I don't want to just throw the towel in like the surrender towel. There is a way to keep them. And that also applies to any of your patients that are buying their own insurance. Sometimes an employer will make it available and then it's paid for by the employee in the form of a payroll deduction. Right. So a good question to ask is, Naren, do you pay for your dental insurance benefits at your employer, or does the employer provide that to you as a benefit?
Great question.
And the patient might say, well, last time I looked at my pay stub, I see a deduction for insurance. I think I'm paying for that myself.
Right.
And if that's the case, then you can say, Naren, I think you'd be better off opting out of that insurance. And let me tell you about our membership plan because it's a whole lot better.
Right.
Now, many times
less expensive.
Less expensive. Many times it is provided as an employee benefit. This just got thrown in.
Right.
As a benefit. And if that's the case, one thing we need to be clear about, the patient cannot have an employer plan and your membership plan.
But in your experience, what percentage of these plans are closed plans where, they won't pay benefits if you're
a small fraction of 1%.
All right.
It's a 10th of 1%. I mean, it's virtually non-existent.
Right.
But it does come up now and again. And that's why I want to make sure none of our listeners ever get sideways with the patient. If you're saying, well, you can still come here, you can use our benefits here.
Right.
And the simple way to find out if you have a question about it is to contact the PPO plan and ask, is this an open panel plan or is it a closed panel plan?
Yeah.
And they have to tell you that. And then you can also ask, if the patient chooses to go out of network, do you continue to pay benefits?
Right.
Whether it be to us or to your patient.